Sarbanes-Oxley Act, no? So it was passed by the Congress in response to the recent continuing corporate scandals, one of which was Enron, and it was signed into law last July 30, 2002. It established sweeping changes in dealing with financial reporting, conflicts of interest, corporate ethics, and oversight of the accounting professions. This applies primarily for public companies, but eventually this will also concern private companies, especially in the Philippines. The SEC has also published a more or less similar guidelines, no, to avoid corporate scandals, which I will show you later on. So the key provisions of this law, it requires establishment of a public company accounting oversight board. All accounting firms that audit public companies must register with the board. The board will establish rules governing substance and content of audits. Inspections of auditing firms will be conducted by the board. So dati, yung mga reports, yung mga audited financial statements, go directly to the SEC, to the US SEC, no? But now, meron pang dadaanan ng public company accounting oversight board. So it made life a bit more difficult, no, for those involved in reportorial requirements of the SEC. Sa Philippines, wala pa naman na-establish na public company accounting oversight board, no? But very soon there might be one. No? Auditor communications with audit committees increases communications between auditor and audit committee on critical accounting policies and practices, alternative accounting statements, and other material written communications with management. So instead na yung company will talk to the this establishes yung between the auditor and sabihin, instead of the company management talking directly to the auditor, yung audit committee will be the go-between management and the auditor, no? So dati the company board can go directly to the auditor to discuss. Now they will have to go through the audit committee, and the audit committee is composed of independent directors. So ito yung audit committee standard. It makes audit committee directly responsible for the appointment, compensation, and oversight of the auditors. Limits audit committee membership to independent directors. Requires procedures from complaints of whistleblowers and others. Requires company to provide audit committee with funding for auditors and other advisors as audit committee deems necessary. So as I told you last time, auditors, merong independent at merong executive directors. Yung independent, usually these are outsiders, no? These are people who distinguish themselves in their field of expertise. Halimbawa, may isang tao na galing sa naging senior partner sa SGB. Upon his retirement sa SGB, kukunin ng isang company for him to assist in the audit committee. Or meron naman tao galing sa San Miguel, involved with the personal department, at siguro naging presidente ng People's Management Association of the Philippines. So pwedeng kunin to ng company naman to be chairman of the compensation board, no? So dumami mga tao sa isang corporation, no? So hindi na simple ngayon ang organization. It became more complicated because of the shenanigans that happened not only in the US but also in the Philippines and in a lot of countries, no? So itong mga certifications na dapat i-submit sa SEC, the CEO, the CEO is usually the president, and the CFO have reviewed the periodic filing to their knowledge information provided presents fairly financial results of the company. So sila magse-certify ng CEO. Kaya mabigat na responsibility ngayon ng mga presidente ng company at saka yung chief finance officer, no? The CEO and CFO have established and maintained disclosure controls and procedures that ensure all material information is made known to them. The CEO and CFO have evaluated the effectiveness of disclosure controls and procedures as of 90 days prior to the date of the periodic report and presented the conclusions in the report. The CEO and CFO have disclosed all internal control deficiencies and any fraud, whether or not significant, that it was management or other employees have significant role in company's internal controls. Statement where company established code of ethics for senior financial officers. No? So kailangan may code of ethics pa mismo within the company specific for the senior financial officers. Yung mga senior financial officers usually composed of the treasurer, the chief finance officer, and then we have the accountant and the finance managers. No? Depende sa size ng corporation. And lastly, other miscellaneous items. So forfeiture of certain bonuses and profits requires the CEO and CFO to forfeit certain bonuses received and profits realized on the sale of securities following a financial report that is later restated due to material non-compliance with the securities laws as a result of a misconduct. So usually, once in a while, nagkakaroon ng mistake ang auditor, no? Ang external auditor, like for instance, SUB. So halimbawa, the revenues that were reflected in the financial statements were overstated or understated. So upon discovery, they try to remedy this by issuing a restatement. So the figures are restated and published in another audited financial statement. So ngayon, bawal na yung personal loans to officers and directors. Now, why would personal loans to officers and directors not allowed? Georgina, bakit bawal na ngayon ang loans officers and directors of the company? Kung babayaran naman, di ba?
Hello, good evening, Doc.
Evening. Why would they prohibit personal loans to officers and directors? Halimbawa sa organization mo, bakit dapat bawal magpa-loan sa officers and directors ng inyong hospital?
I'm not so sure, Doc, but maybe because of conflict of interest, or maybe since they are major stakeholders of the company, that they may be, but I'm not so sure, Doc, because it can be deducted from their salary.
Okay. How about si Kasyan Lin? Bakit bawal ang personal loans to officers and directors?
Perhaps, sir, because of the bias that it will be parang payagan sila mag-loan agad. And also, it will be in conflict. Baka hindi nila bayaran.
Yeah, okay, yeah, pwede. Kasi halimbawa ako, director, ikaw ay finance officer, mas mataas ang position ko sa iyo, di ba? So paano ka mangolekta sa akin kung sabi siya wala pa akong pera? Wag mo muna akong singilin. Di ba pwedeng ganun mangyari? So hahaba yung loan period hanggang hindi na mabayaran. I think Edel, are you raising your hand?
Hindi naman po. Naka-raise ba siya?
Okay, but would you like to give your take on this?
Tama po yung sinabi nyo. Ang hirap singilin pagka officer po yung nag-loan, tas ang haba po.
Baka ultimately hindi na bayaran, di ba?
Yes po.
Ikaw naman, paano mo naman sisingilin yun kung ikaw mas mababang posisyon kay okay, and this happens, hindi ba? requires accelerated reporting of trades by insiders. Transactions must be reported by EDGAR by the end of the second business day following execution of a transaction. Yung EDGAR, ito yung ano, electronic data gathering, analysis, and something electronic data gathering, analysis, and I forget the R. I don't remember. By the end of the second business day, following execution of the transaction. Requires a public company to document and evaluate the effectiveness of internal controls and procedures for financial reportings. Elements of internal control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, monitoring. Effective internal controls provide reasonable assurance that the risk is manageable. Effective internal controls provide a clear definition of responsibilities and accountabilities. Any questions regarding this slide? Requires external auditor to attest to the management assertions in the annual report. Annual report to include management's assessment of the effectiveness of internal control over financing report. This is effective for the fiscal years ending June 30, 2004. Okay. So meron tinatawag na real-time issuer disclosures, rapid and current disclosure of material changes in financial conditions of operation. So halimbawa, yun nangyari sa amin, no? We discovered oil in West Dinapacan sometime in I think it was in the 1980s. And our Houston consultants estimated that the oil field contained about 1 billion barrels of oil. So we were ecstatic. Almost all big banks in the Philippines came to me offering loans because we would have to develop the oil field. And I did borrow 500 million from them. No? Ngayon, all of a sudden, after producing 140,000 barrels, the well dried up. So mali estimate ng mga geologists sa Houston, Texas, no. So we had to report it to the SEC na we included in our report the official findings of or assessments of the geologists that hindi ganun kalaki pala yung oil field na na-discover. So there was sorry. So there was chaos, no? All the banks wanted to get back their money, but how could they? Nandun na sa oil field, no? We already set up yung platform to produce the oil. Unfortunately, wala na nga ma-produce na oil, no? So sabi ko sa inyo last meeting, na kung ang utang mo sa bangko ay 1 million and you cannot pay because it was a credit card loan, you have a problem because they will give this to a collection agency who will continuously nag you for payment. Pero kung ganun kalaki utang, 500 million, the banks may problema and they will ask you to sit down with them for a restructuring arrangement. So that was what happened to us, no? But the pressure really drove up my blood pressure, no? And then I got sick because of that. Anyway, requires that each periodic report filed with the SEC be accomplished by the certification of the CEO and CFO that the report fully complies with the applicable Security Exchange Act rules. The information contained in the report fairly presents in all material respects the financial conditions and results of operations of the company. And fraudulent certification carry penalties. In the US, it's $1 million fine, up to 10 years in prison. Willful falsification carries a steeper penalty of 5 million fine and up to 20 years in prison. Ewan ko, luckily naman, wala pa akong nakita sa ating sa Philippines na nakulong dahil dito sa ganitong kasalanan, no. record tampering or otherwise impeding an official proceeding, and criminal penalties for altering documents, criminal penalties for corruptly altering or destroying documents or otherwise impending an official proceeding, expands criminal penalties for whoever alters documents, including audit reports, to obstruct an investigation. This was exactly what happened sa Enron, di ba? They shredded the documents that were needed for the SEC to be able to conduct forensic accounting in the company. Any questions? So yun ang nangyayari sa US. Sa naman, sa London, meron din naging problema. They came up naman with the Cadbury report, no? So it is the Corporate Governance Committee that was set up in May 1991 by the Financial Reporting Council, the Stock Exchange, the accountancy profession, in response to continuing concern about the standards of financial reporting, accountability, and the London Stock Exchange. It was chaired by Sir Adrian Cadbury, hence the name of Cadbury Report, and had to review those aspects of corporate governance relating to financial reporting and accountability. The final report, the financial aspects of corporate governance. Corporate scandal leading to Cadbury report. No? In the late 1980s, there was a series of sensational business scandals in the United Kingdom. There was particular public outrage at the plundering of pension funds by Robert Maxwell, and the failure of auditors exposed the impending bankruptcy of the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, and apparently undeserved high pay raises received by senior business executives. The City of London responded by creating a special committee to examine the financial aspects of corporate governance. So usually, tinatama sa mga ganito, aside from individual investors or institutional investors, ay mga pension funds. No? Ito napakasakit dahil ang pension funds, inaasahan ito ng mga nagtatrabaho. No? Halimbawa, tayo, yung mga under sa SSS o sa GSIS ngayon, inaasahan natin na yung ating mga contributions are invested cautiously by GSIS and SSS in good investments with the good returns. Hindi natin sasabihin high return dahil usually pag high return, usually high risk yun, no? Masyadong delikado. Kaya always remember that pag high return is always associated with high risk. Di ba yung mga Ponzi scheme, ganun. It's a high return but high risk, no? Tsaka yung Ponzi scheme naman is not a business. No? To reduce the power of executive directors in the boardroom, the code recommends a greater role for non-executive directors, changes in board operations, and more active role for auditors. So ang ginagawa, nagpapakuha ng mga outside directors, yung SEC ng London. And these outside directors are usually people who have distinguished themselves in their respective fields of expertise. No? So code principles, openness, integrity, and accountability. The openness, basis for the confidence which needs to exist between the business and all those who have the stake in its success. Open approach to the disclosure of information contributes to the efficient working of the market economy. Prompts board to take effective actions and allow holders to examine companies more thoroughly. Integrity, straightforward dealing with completeness, should be honest and should present the balanced picture of the state of the company's affairs. Ang accountability naman, accountable to their shareholders. Boards of directors need to present to the quality of information that they prove to the holders through willingness to exercise their responsibilities as owners. The Code of Best Practices divided into 4 sections: role of the Board of Directors, duties of the board and its compositions, role of non-executive directors, dealing with their remunerations, addressing questions of financial reporting and financial controls. So ito yung mga role of the Board of Directors. The board should meet regularly, retain full and effective control over the company, and monitor the executive department. So usually, dapat, no, not usually, but dapat ang board meeting should be regular, no? Usually, it should be monthly, and yung day of meeting should be specified already, no? Halimbawa, every Monday, every last Monday of the month, and the venue should be the boardroom. Dapat naka-specify na yun, no? And the person responsible for disseminating this is the corporate secretary. The board should include non-executive directors of sufficient caliber and number for their views to carry significant weight in the board's decisions. All directors should have access to the advice and services of the company secretary, who is responsible to the board for ensuring that the board procedures are followed and that applicable rules and regulations are complied with. Any question of removal of company secretary should be a matter for the board to decide as a whole. So dito in-emphasize yung role ng corporate secretary. No? The corporate secretary is responsible for making the minutes, for making the agenda. In making the agenda, he should be coordinating with the chief executive officer. And then the agenda, it should be passed, it should be routed to the board of directors for approval and signature. Role of non-executive directors, they should bring an independent judgment to bear on issues of strategy, performance, resources, including key appointments and standards of conduct. Non-executive directors should be appointed for specified terms, and reappointment should not be automatic. Non-executive directors should be selected through a process. Both this process and their appointment should be a matter for the board as a whole. So dapat walang non-executive director na forever. Dapat to may fixed term siya. Could be 3 years, after which he will be changed by another non-executive director. So dapat hindi continuing yan para may mga fresh ideas ka that can come in, no? Kasi kung minsan tinatamad na yung executive director, sawa na siya sa trabaho niya. Kasi usually mga non-executive directors are retirees from other companies, no? So medyo may edad na yan, kung minsan siguro nakatulog na during the board meetings, no? So dapat yan pinapalitan every so often. We recommend that future service contracts should not exceed 3 years without shareholders' approval, and the Companies Act should be amended in line with the recommendation. Shareholders require that the remuneration of directors should be both fair and competitive. The annual general meeting provides opportunity for shareholders to make their views for such matters as directors' benefit known to their boards. Addressing questions of financial reporting and financial records, it is the board's duty to present balanced and understandable assessment of the company's position. The board should ensure that an objective and professional relationship is maintained with the auditors. The board should establish an audit committee of at least 3 non-executive directors with written terms of reference which deal clearly with its authority and duties. Directors should explain their responsibility for preparing the accounts next to the statement by the auditors about their reporting responsibilities. The director should report on the effectiveness of the company's system of internal control. The director should report that the business is a going concern with supporting assumptions or qualifications as necessary. Now, what do you understand by the phrase going concern? Anybody? Ano pagkakaintindi mo sa phrase na that the business is a going concern? How about si Edel? Edel, what comes to your mind when you say the business is a going concern?
Siguro impending na bababa yung ano po, yung stock ng company.
Actually, this is an accounting term. Pag sinabing going concern, it means the business is continuing. Walang signs na magsasara, walang signs na mababankrupt. At least in the near future. So yun ang ibig sabihin ng going concern. The collapse of the Bank of Credit and Commerce International and exposure of its widespread criminal practices and the posthumous discovery of Robert Maxwell appropriation of 440 million from his company's pension funds as Maxwell Group filed for bankruptcy in 1992. The shock waves from these two incidents only heightened the sense of urgency behind the committee's work and ensured that all eyes would be on its eventual report. Okay, any questions? Ito yung dalawang mabigat na sagot to sa Enron at saka to sa WorldCom, Yung Oxy, yung Sarbanes-Oxley, ito yung sagot sa Enron scandal. Ito naman yung sagot sa mga shenanigans sa London. Any questions? O punta naman tayo sa ethics, CSR, and sustainability. So ang nito, ang main aspect nito, ang main point dito is yung sustainability, Ethical issues. Halimbawa, products, let's keep things out. Halimbawa, it's a product. Many products currently marketed in this sector have not been subject to safety and efficacy studies. Product category appears poorly controlled. Some claim to contain natural ingredients such as vitamin B3, but mercury has been found available in Mexico and other developing countries. So yung ethical issues. Example nito yung there was a time na yung powdered baby milk contained melamine from China. Hindi ba yung melamine was isa substance used for construction. Mabuti na lang thankfully wala naman yata masyadong na-disgrasyang babies because formula yung ang hinaluan nila ng melamine are formulas for baby milk, powdered milk ng babies. So yun naman ang nangyari at least sa Asia. So may mga products na hinalo ng dangerous ingredients, Halimbawa yung hydroquinone, classified as carcinogenic or cancer cell and mutagenic, causing genetic mutations and now banned in Europe. Corticosteroids, I think you're very familiar with this, which can cause a number of skin abnormalities and even diabetes. It is surprising that given the severe health consequences that can result of prolonged use of these types of products, there is little consistent regulation of the sector. This is primarily due to classification of the category as cosmetic rather than pharmaceutical. Hindi ba even sa television, marami mga medicine na nabili over the counter. Pagkatapos sinasabi na there are no therapeutic, may caution sila na there are no therapeutic effects yung product. And they're marketing yung halimbawa Naproxen na maraming na disgrasya diyan sa nagkaroon ng kidney problem diyan sa Naproxen na yan, di ba? At saka yung health drinks. And yet they market it over the television. Yung especially yung mga bata, they use this and they encounter some problems with their kidneys early in their lives. In fact, meron kong kakilala na nagkaroon ng acute allergic nephritis because of naproxen, no? Naproxen, no? I think he ingested, ewan ko kung ang ini-ingest niya Flanax or another medicine that's naproxen based. So marami na, no, pero they're free to advertise on television, no? Tsaka yung mga sports drink, usually nakakataas ng creatinine ito mga ito, no? Ethics is a set of moral principle of value, discipline in dealing with what is right or wrong, moral or immoral, a set of moral beliefs and conducts, what is right, what is just, what is fair. Business ethics, set of moral rules that govern how businesses operate, how these business decisions are made, and how people are treated. In business, different people you have to answer to: customers, shareholders, and clients. Ethical dilemma arises in determining what to do, especially with different groups. Decisions can be extremely tricky. Business ethics are complex and multifaceted, no? Now, what is acceptable in one area might not be acceptable in another, di ba? For instance, in the 1980s, when you do business in Saudi Arabia, you have to connect with the sponsor who usually had a connection with the prince or king of Saudi Arabia. Without that, you can never do business in that kingdom, no? So using Western standards of ethics, that is wrong because that is bribery, di ba? But in China, not in China, but in Saudi Arabia, that is normal business practice. So you cannot generalize some things, sometimes yung ethical beliefs because sa kanila it's a normal process. Isa pang item is yung mga Chinese mahilig magbigay ng mahilig magbigay ng regalo, di ba? To them, well, that's what they say, no? Normal lang yun, but using the Western standards, that is bribery and should not be accepted. Yeah, I will give slides, some of these slides to you, no? Examples: accounting ethics, especially for accountants of publicly listed corporations which depend upon complete honesty and transparency. Lack of business ethics allowed the accountants at Arthur Andersen to behave with less honesty, openness, and responsible publication for auditing Enron. Result: shareholders are harmed, the company collapsed, and some Arthur Andersen accountants were held legally liable for their breach of business ethics. Lawyer and his obligation to keep information about his client completely confidential. Medical research calls for protection of human subjects. This is in treating patients or conducting experiments on patients. Peer review boards and other such institutions govern experiments designed to be conducted on human subjects to ensure that business ethics are followed and that experimenters make the best moral and ethical decisions. Di ba kayo, you're not supposed to talk about your patients with other people, even with fellow doctors, unless you're working in collaboration with this other doctor, di ba? You're not allowed to discuss. In fact, pag kumukuha ka ng medical records, medyo mahirap, di ba? Maraming mahigpit ang proseso. Because you have to protect the interest of the patient. So ito yung three pillars of ethical organization. Ethical individuals, integrity, honesty, inspire trust, trust people, play fair, high level moral development, ethical leadership, role modeling, uphold ethical values in organization, communicate about ethics and values, reward ethical behavior, swift discipline of unethical behavior, and organization structures and systems, corporate culture, code of ethics, ethics committee, chief ethics officer, ethics training, whistleblowing mechanisms. So usually, it is important the head of the organization is ethical, no? Because kung hindi siya ethical in his ways, ang mangyayari, yung mga tao sa bababa, will behave in the same way. Halimbawa, nakita nila na yung boss nila ay nagnanakaw, no? Doing some hanky-panky. Ang gagawin ng mga subordinates, usually, what they do is do the same thing, di ba? Because bakit lang yung boss nila ang makikinabang? Di makinabang din kami, di ba? Yan ang usual attitude. So it is important na yung leadership is you have an ethical leadership in your organization. Otherwise, your organization will go down the drain, no? Because definitely the people under him or under that unethical boss will just do what the unethical leadership is doing. So ito yung Venn diagram connecting ethical responsibility, legal responsibility, economic responsibility. So may intersection siya sa may mga various intersections siya. Area 3, legal and ethical but not profitable. Now you have to find ways to make it to make it profitable. Area 2B, profitable and ethical, probably legal too. So proceed cautiously. And then there's the area 1, profitable, legal, ethical, go for it, no? Area 2A, profitable and legal, but proceed cautiously. Okay? So ito yung 3 domains of human action. The domain of certified law, legal standard, domain of ethics, social standard, domain of free choice, personal standard. Organizations' obligation to make choices and take actions will contribute to the welfare and interest of society and organization, distinguishing right from wrong, being a good corporate citizen. Many social responsibility issues are ambiguous with respect to right and wrong. This is the same thing as the previous slide. For corporate social responsibility, recently defined by Sheehy as international private business self-regulation. She examined different disciplinary approaches to define CSR, economic definition of sacrificing profits, management definition beyond compliance, institutionalist views as social political improvement, and laws focus on directors' duties. She considered Carroll's widely used description of CSR as a pyramid of responsibilities, economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic. CSR to Carroll was not exactly defining CSR, the classification of activities. Now, what do you think? Is CSR just a PR stunt? PR stunt lang ba ang CSR? That is being used by companies to promote their image. Anybody would like to give his or her take on this? Is CSR just a PR stunt of companies? Margie?
Hi, hello po. Good evening.
Evening. What do you
For me, sir, I don't think it's just for appearances, but I think that for a company to be successful and for the longevity of the company, to go beyond the lifetime of whoever is presently managing it, who are presently a member of it, they should be guided by core values, and they should also be um, guided by principles, not only for self enhancement and one's their benefit, but also for the benefit of people. And if they really live up to these guidelines and these principles and advocacies, I think that it will follow that there is a high likelihood that this company will be successful. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's just PR stunt.
Yeah, I agree with you. For instance, itong San Miguel, di ba, recently na, they won the bid to modernize the NAIA. It's more of a CSR, no? Kasi they're giving back to the government 83% of the revenues. So magkano nila matitira sa kanila, di ba? And they're doing this siguro of course, one is to promote the Philippines because the airport is a necessity, di ba? It is it gives the first impression to a tourist or to a businessman. It gives kung makita mo airport masama itsura, of course masama na kagad ang mo, di ba? Ang tingin mo sa country. So yung ginagawa ng San Miguel is partly CSR, no? Because kung bibigyan nila nga sa government yung 85% of the profits or the revenues, malaking bagay yun, no? Considering the fact na meron pa silang mga operational expenses. Tapos yung ginagawa nilang yung dredging ng Pasig River, millions of tons of waste na nakuha nila, no? And I don't think they will make profit out of that. But that is also the so-called sorry, strategic CSR because kikita rin sila, no? Halimbawa, yung airport, kikita rin sila, perhaps not that big because they're sacrificing profits, giving a huge portion of it back to the government. But it's so-called, it's the so-called strategic CSR. Kasi kikita rin sila. For instance, yung mga nagbibigay ng yung mga computer company nagbibigay ng computer sa mga eskwelahan, di ba? So when these computers conk out, usually kukuha gagawa yung mga schools, kukuha na sila ng replacements. At syempre, ang kukuha nilang replacement, yung a model or a brand that is already familiar to them, no? So that is the so-called strategic CSR. So usually itong nire-recommend ng mga teachers ay yung mga yung mga dating nakasanayan nila ng brand and even model of computers. So again, CSR is a company has a responsibility towards the community and environment in which it operates. Companies express citizenship through their waste and pollution reduction processes by contributing in education and social programs and by earning adequate returns on employed resources. Public view of CSR. Most consumers agree that while achieving business targets, companies should simultaneously engage in CSR efforts. Positive image, positive response from consumers. Most consumers believe companies doing charity work will receive a positive response. Loyalty and willingness. Research found that consumers are loyal and willing to spend on retailers that support charity. Is this true? Loyalty, pag nalaman ninyo na yung retailer support charity, you buy more from that company? Anybody?
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Usually, the advertisement will tell that a portion of this will be donated to a certain charity or certain organization. Then, most likely, that consumer will be supportive of that company.
Okay, you're familiar with Tom Shoes? TOMS, Tom Shoes. Yung Tom Shoes, pag mayroong bumili dito sa, halimbawa, may bumili sa Philippines ng kanilang pair of shoes. Ang gagawin nila, magbibigay din sila ng pair of shoes sa mahirap na bansa, halimbawa, Ethiopia, no? So yun ang kanilang CSR. Yung nakuha nila dito, part of of course, yung pamimigay nila, hindi naman kasi mahal nung binenta nila dito sa Philippines. So part of the profits that they gain from the shoes sold in Manila will be used to give out shoes in a country like Ethiopia, no? So yun ang kanilang CSR. Negative views found in environmental efforts. There is the belief that this would affect customer service. Of Wallet found that not all CSR activities are attractive to consumers. And if social initiative is not aligned with other company goals, this will have a negative impact. Common CSR actions: environmental sustainability, recycling, waste management, water management, renewable energy, reusable materials, greener supply chains, reducing paper use, and adopting leadership in energy and environmental design building standards. I used to have a friend na meron siya ng junkyard. Akala ko, sabi ko, ba't naman of all businesses, junkyard lang yung negosyo? Malaki pa lang kita doon, no? And at the same time, you're helping the environment, clean up the environment. So ang ginagawa niya, meron siya mga scavengers, no? Binabayaran naman niya to get these mga karton and and then this is, so binibili niya ito per kilo, and then meron din namimili sa kanya, no? So he makes money out of it. So hindi naman kasamaan yun. Although kumisan, if you think about it, having a junkyard is not too palatable to you, no? Di ba? Sabihin mo, madumi. Pero malaki pa lang pera doon, no? I found it out when I had coffee with that friend doon sa mismong junkyard niya. Ethical marketing: companies that ethically market consumers are placing high value on their customers and respecting them as people or ends in themselves. They do not try to manipulate or false advertise to potential consumers. This is important for companies that want to be viewed as ethical. So maraming mga products na minamarket na madaming mga promises, di ba? Matatanggal ang wrinkles, matatanggal yung you would look 10 years younger. Pero at the end of the day, hindi naman nangyayari yun, no? Lalo na ngayon, marami sa Facebook, di ba? Lumalabas yan. Triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit, also known as a triple bottom line, forms one way to evaluate CSR. People refers to labor practices, the community and region where the business operates. Planet refers to sustainable environment practices. Profit is the economic value created by the organization after deducting most of the inputs, including the cost of capital. This measure was claimed to help some companies be more conscious of their social and moral responsibilities. However, critics claim that it is selective and substitutes the company's perspective for that of the community. Another criticism is about the absence of standard auditing procedure. The term CSR was coined by John Eric Elkington in 1994. Triple bottom line is sustainability. One way to look at sustainability is by considering the three pillars of sustainability. Under this approach, companies look for a balanced approach to long-term social, environmental, and economic objectives. Another way to look at this is through the concept of triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. I think we should put profit first. Dahil kung wala kang kita, if you don't have profit, you cannot engage in any CSR activity. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Does anybody agree? Without profit, without the profitable operations, you cannot engage in any CSR activity. Tama ba? Who agrees? Walang nag-agree. Who disagrees? Okay, can you expound on what you said? Yes, you agree.
For example, during the pandemic, sir, it was hard time for the hospital. So if you don't put profit first, malulugi yung negosyo, then the hospitals would close. So what most hospitals did, they increase their pricing for their services to say walang pasyente pong pupunta. So the survivability of the hospital comes first.
Yeah. Without that, you're dead, di ba? Mauna ka pang mamatay kaysa doon sa tao na may sakit. Because without profit, you can engage in any CSR activity. Because CSR cost money. No? So ito yung another Venn diagram. No? Happy people, employees, green practices, return on investment. No? 3 spheres of sustainability, environmental, social, economic. Social pillar of sustainability. Social aspect focuses on balancing the needs of the individual with the needs of the group. Examples of companies that do this in different ways. Some of the most successful corporate sustainability programs tie this in with their corporate missions. Walmart social initiatives include specific market skills training programs, sustainable agriculture, food donations, worker safety initiatives, and women empowerment initiatives. Nestle naman committed to address the community impacts arising from the result of their operations, including water scarcity, health and wellness of communities around their factories, and land management that honors usage rights of local people. Verizon supports its social and community efforts through voluntary grants, matching gifts, disaster relief and recovery programs, and cost collection efforts where employees donate time, money, and material goods. The company is also spearheading the introduction of energy-saving technologies to schools, medical clinics, and senior living facilities. Planet, no? The environmental pillar of sustainability. It occurs when processes, systems, and activities reduce environmental impact of an organization's facilities, products, and operations. Pioneer in environmental sustainability proposed that for renewable resources, the rate of harvest should not exceed the rate of regeneration. For pollution, the rate of waste regeneration from products should not exceed the assimilative capacity of the environment. For non-renewable resources, the depletion of these non-renewable resources should require comparable development of renewable substitute for that resource. Ito yung ginagawa natin sa, di ba, sa fuel, no? Ginagawa natin, we try to look for substitute, yung windmill, we use the windmill or yung solar, di ba? Sa Walmart naman, initiatives included increasing imports from green and yellow factories, a goal of zero waste, plastic bag reduction, and initiatives to reduce carbon footprint by managing energy consumption. Nestle, meanwhile, identified 4 priority areas to manage their environmental sustainability: water, agricultural raw materials, manufacture and distribution, packaging specific, to their food and beverage business. So Verizon, management sustainability includes the record-breaking year in electronic gear and telecom equipment, recycling, reducing energy use by providing employees with flexibility in where they work, reduction in carbon intensity, finding more efficient and eco-friendly solutions for its fleet, greener packaging, using alternative sources of energy for its cell towers, and many other initiatives to reduce impact on the environment. Sustainability. Economic sustainability is used to define strategies that promote the utilization of socioeconomic resources to their best advantage. A sustainable economic model proposes an equitable distribution and efficient allocation of resources. The idea is to promote the use of resources in an efficient and responsible way that provides long-term benefits and establishes profitability. A profitable business is more likely to remain stable and continue to operate from one year to the next. Yeah, there's the total approach to sustainability. The nice thing about taking a total approach to sustainability is that if you focus on social and environmental issues, profitability will often follow. Social initiatives have an impact on consumer behavior and employee performance. While governmental initiatives such as energy efficiency and pollution mitigation can have direct impact on reducing waste. Economic sustainability involves making sure that the business makes profit, but also that business operations don't create social and environmental issues that will harm long-term success of the company. Defining sustainability and corporate social responsibility by using the 3 pillars of sustainability can help the company determine its own sustainable and successful growth. Following these general guidelines and learning from the examples of other companies will let you determine the best path to take for your company. So ito, China company and sustainability, no? So example niya, Merowe is a stretch of fertile land north of Khartoum. The Merowe Dam was built and completed by the Chinese, German, and French companies in 2009. The project doubled Sudan's electricity generation, but displaced more than 50,000 people from the Nile Valley and arid desert locations. Thousands of people who refused to leave their homes were flushed out by the reservoir. Protests were violently suppressed. The UN Rapporteur on Housing Rights expressed deep concern about human rights violations in these projects, as the dam builders to hold construction in 2007 but to no avail. I think this is similar to yung Kaliwa Dam that is being constructed sa Quezon yata, di ba? We're constructing a dam sa Kaliwa, and I think some people, some native people were very ejected. Now, I don't know if they're continuing the construction of that dam. The Merowe project, just like 2 other projects, are located in Nubia, threatened to destroy a civilization, as the Merowe is also located in the Asian bridge between Egypt and sub-Saharan Africa. Nubians have developed their own language and civilization over thousands of years and now risk being annihilated as a nation. In the 1960s, 120,000 Nubian people were displaced from their ancestral lands in Egypt and Sudan for the construction of the Aswan Dam. Organizations should have responsibility to create and maintain sustainability of the business. Socially responsible organizations communicate in words and deed within organizations and externally in order to maintain sustainability. Steering a company that was sustainability cares with the go towards innovation. Creating an organization culture of sustainability requires communication at the helm. So innovation, according to this, is very important if you want a sustainable operations or company. So halimbawa, let's take Apple for instance. Anong means nila to make their business sustainable? Ano sa palagay niyo ang ginagawa ng Apple to make them a continuing going concern?
Cheap
Or to make them
or sir, China.
I beg your pardon?
Oh well, that's the criticism they get lately, sir. The cheap labor from China and
Okay.
not ethical environment for the workers.
Ang ginagawa nila, they continuously innovate, di ba? Kaya every year, may lumalabas na iPhone, di ba? Kung minsan, kung titignan mo, kung iisipin mo, yung functions ng iPhone na produce ngayong taon, pareho lang halos ng mga functions na produce nung nakaraang taon, di ba? But they try to put in some kind of innovations. For instance, in the case of laptop, they came up with their own chips, yung M1, M2, M3, di ba? So they're making their existence sustainable by continuing their innovations. Saka they come up with innovative products. Di ba, meron silang latest na product, yung ano, parang Visor. I don't know exactly how they call it, but the amount is fantastic. It's $3,000. I don't know what it can do. So 4 C's of sustainability advertising is communication designed to promote social, economic, and environmental benefits of products through paid ads in media in order to encourage responsible behavior of consumers. It has 4 C's, unlike the traditional marketing strategy of 4 P's: customer solution, communication, customer cost, convenience. Unilever, the future begins now. A sustainable campaign cannot be a brand campaign. Unilever has begun a multifaceted global advertising campaign, is equating its corporate brand to sustainability. Unilever places sustainability central to its operation by saying investment in green products and sustainability practices. For further impact, campaign uses children to state their dreams amidst issues and challenges prevalent around the globe. Hindi lang natin mapalabas yung ano dito, yung ad ng Unilever, no? Pantene, bring awareness to real and pertinent sustainability issues affecting the society. Example, Procter & Gamble hair brand Pantene, with its labels against women, TV, and later YouTube campaign in the Philippines, P&G brought up the issue of gender discrimination at work. Although the full impactful advertisement makes no association to the brand or product, it portrays the company's core values and principles of not tolerating discrimination in any form. Lifebuoy, ganun din, no? So even the advertisements, meron talagang tinatawag na sustainability strategies, no? Okay, any questions? Any concerns?
Hi, Doc.
Yeah.
Pwede po magtanong regarding sa 3 pillars po, Doc. Di ba
Okay,
you
ano
asked if we agree, Doc, regarding unahin po yung profit. Regarding po, Doc, sa P na people, di po ba magiging successful yung company if, di ba yung focus ng people nila, Doc, is yung well-being ng employees?
Yeah, well-being. Oh.
So, di po ba pwede unahin si people, Doc?
Well, yeah, I mean, pero halimbawa, how can you take care of the well-being of the people if you don't have, if your company is not profitable, di ba? Yun lang naman ang point ko. Yung people, of course, it plays a big role, no? But then if company doesn't have the money to take care of the people, to give them more than what is required by the government, they cannot practice the CSR. Diba? Look at it that way.
Okay
Halimbawa,
po,
wala akong pera. Paano ko ma-upgrade yung quality of life ng family ko, di ba? So you want to upgrade the quality of life of the people around you. But how can you do that without the proper resources? Did I answer your question?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay. So we go to corporate governance, no? So ito yung definition of corporate. It is the cornerstone of modern market-oriented economy. No? Promote efficient use of scarce resources. Promote the trust of investors. Good corporate governance has the positive link to economic development and good corporate performance. Funds will flow to to entities that are seen to be internationally accepted standards of good governance. So sinasabi lang dito, effectively, pagputihin mo yung trabaho, pagputihin mo yung produkto mo, and yung profits will follow. Halimbawa, as an employee, pagputihin mo yung trabaho mo, gawin mo lahat ang dapat mong gawin at mas higit pa doon, and the rewards will be forthcoming. Do you agree? Does anybody agree to that? Or kung minsan, trabaho ng trabaho pero hindi ka napapansin, di ba? Wala pumapasok na yung, well, you get basic the basic compensation, but you don't get the full rewards that you feel are due you, di ba? Kung minsan ganyan na nangyayari, trabaho ng trabaho, hoping that you will be noticed and the proper benefits or the benefits due you should be forthcoming, but it doesn't happen because siguro mahina ang PR mo, you don't blow your own horn. So nangyayari, hindi ka pa rin napapansin kahit na maganda naman yung trabaho mo at trabaho ng trabaho. Okay? Do you agree?
Yes po.
Okay. So why is corporate governance important? Because of the proliferation of financial scandals and crises, loss of trust of investors, globalization due to increasing cross-border investment opportunities, but investors may not have the knowledge about the regulatory framework of overseas investees. No? So halimbawa, why is it that there are very few foreign direct investments in the Philippines? Ang dami pumapasok sa Vietnam, iba pumapasok sa Malaysia, sa Indonesia. But how come they don't come to the Philippines? Anybody would like to give his take on this?
Dok,
Bakit ang dami?
regulations, Dok, na parang di din sila na-organize na sila mismo. Daming
Ano?
regulation.
Ownership,
Yes, ano yun?
ownership equity sa the foreign companies, they can fully own the company here in the Philippines 100%.
Well, ang sabi nung merong in-interview yung foreign businessman. Ang sabi, number one, we do not have the proper infrastructure. No? Imagine yung traffic situation. You lose about so many millions of pesos a day. No? In fact, billion yata estimate ng NEDA. No? We lose about a billion pesos every day because of the traffic situation. Pangalawa, we don't have yung corruption, because according to them, in other countries, only 3 signatures are needed for you to start your business. In the Philippines, you need about 61 or 69 signatures. No? Kasi minsan humihingi na yung sa itaas, humihingi pa up to the barangay level. So magkakalechi-lechi talaga, no? Who would want that? Tapos yung political situation, di ba nga medyo fluid pa yung ating political situation, hindi pa masyadong stabilized. Pangatlo ay yung mga changes in policies, hindi ba? Imagine yung ABS-CBN mapasara, di ba? Pagkalaki-laki ng negosyo that was once lording over competition. And now, ano lang siya, content producer. So yun yung mga reasons why we remain investment hungry. Investors are not willing to invest in countries that are corrupt, prone to fraud, poorly managed, and lacking sufficient protection for investors' rights. Securities and money law protection may help, but not enough. corporate governance supplements legal framework. So meron dating nagsabi na ang Indonesia corrupt is just as corrupt or maybe more corrupt than the Philippines. But then ano sila competent. Tayo raw corrupt na, incompetent pa. Yun ang sabi, no? For instance, maraming mga laws na dapat for instance, paano mo masasabing hindi incompetent? Halimbawa, yung license plates ng kotse. Kayo ba kompleto na yung license plate nyo? Yung mga license plate yung bago nakuha nyo na? Hello?
Yes po, Doc.
O ngayon, nawalan naman ng plastic para sa sa mga lisensya, hindi ba? Hindi yung puro kalokohan. All this could have been avoided. Yung sa license plates, bakit biglaan lahat pinalitan? Bakit hindi in stages? Yung naman lisensya, ganun din, di ba? Bakit binigla lahat? Bakit naubusan? Nako-forecast naman yan. Kung ilan yung mga i-renew yung mga lisensya. Ibig sabihin, wala siguro silang data bank. Di ba? Corporate governance also plays an important role in maintaining corporate integrity, managing the risk of corporate fraud, combating against management misconduct and corruption. The system by which business corporations are directed and controlled specifies the distribution of rights, responsibilities among different participants in the corporation, such as the board, managers, shareholders, and stakeholders. Spells out the rules and procedures for making decisions on corporate affairs, provides a structure through which a company objectives are set, the means of attaining these objectives, and monitoring performance. Principles of corporate governance, ensuring the base for an effective corporate governance framework, the rights of shareholders and key ownership functions, equitable treatment of shareholders, role of stakeholders in corporate governance, disclosure and transparency, the responsibilities of the board. Or what do investors expect the Court of Corporate Governance practices? Board of directors assume responsibility of leadership and control of the corporation, direct and supervise the corporate affairs, make decisions in the interest of the corporation. Board of directors, regular meetings, active participation, freedom to include items in the agenda, sufficient notice for board meetings, access to advice and services of company secretary, independent professional advice. So usually, ang mga agenda should be passed on to the board members 1 week in advance, no? Ganun din yung notice for board meetings. Unless the board meetings is emergency, you give 1 week notice for the board meetings. Kasi marami dyan yung mga emergency meetings, no? There was a disaster that happened, somebody got sick, somebody got injured. So dapat yan, yun pang emergency board meetings lang. You can call it at the spur of a moment. But yung mga regular board meetings should be announced at least a week in advance or set na by the board. No? Every month, last Monday of the month, we will have a board meeting at the boardroom at this time, about 9 a.m. No? So there should be full record of the minutes, and that's available for inspection of the board members and even even perhaps the major stockholders. Independent non-executive director should be present at all board meetings to discuss matters involving conflict of interest. Abstain from voting if conflict of interest exists. Insurance coverage in respect to legal action against directors. So what is an example of conflict of interest? Halimbawa, ako ay board member and now I own a security agency. And now I'm bidding for the hospital's security, no? Meron kasi akong, but I'm a board member. So what should I do if there is already a votation as to which company to choose? The most ethical thing to do is for me to abstain from voting, no? Because there's a clear conflict of interest, even if my company has the lowest bid, no? Chairman and CEO, segregation of the management of the board, and day-to-day management of the corporate's business. So usually ang board is in charge of the direction of the company, no? Yung management is responsible for the implementation of the directions of the board. Balance of power at board level to avoid concentration of power in a single individual, no? Dapat yung mga trabaho is well delegated to the different officers of the company. Hindi dapat nagre-reside lang sa president of the company. Because ang mangyayari dyan, he has all the information. He might not be, sometimes there are people who are not fond of sharing this information. And what will happen is that there's already a big problem, and then you are not yet well aware about the problem because the president would not want the problem to be known to you or to other board members because he's embarrassed and he tries to find fixes for this problem. And then you get only to know the problem when it's already so big that it's so difficult already to contain it and to remedy it. Any questions?
None po.
Separation of chairman and CEO. So dapat yung chairman mo iba sa president, no? Division of responsibilities between the chairman and CEO clearly laid down in writing. Yung CEO is usually the president of the company. Pero kung minsan meron mga companies na meron tinatawag na chief operating officer, no? Kung minsan yung CEO ang doon is ang acronym for child of the owner, no? Maraming company ganyan, yung anak gusto na maging presidente, so ang gagawin title sa kanya chief operating officer or chief operating officer. Pero actually the meaning is child of the owner. Chairman provide leadership for the board, ensure the board works effectively and discharges its responsibilities, ensure good corporate governance practices and procedures are in place, ensure all directors are properly briefed on issues arising at the board meeting, responsible for ensuring appropriate information received by the directors. The chairman naman should encourage full and active contribution to the board's affair, ensure effective communication between board and shareholders, hold annual meetings with non-executive directors, ensure constructive relationships between executive and non-executive directors. Board composition, balance of skills and experiences, balance composition of executive and non-executive directors. Non-executive directors should be of different caliber. Independent non-executive directors should be expressly identified. List of directors updated with the respective role and functions identified. So yung sinasabi dito balance composition of yung balance of skills and experiences. Kung minsan, hindi na susunod to, no? Usually, mga nagiging directors are the major stockholders of the company. They became directors because they had the necessary votes to elect them to up to board seats. So yung balance of skills and experiences, in most instances, this is not followed. Sa non-executive director, yung mga mga outside directors pa, pwede yun, no? Or non-executive directors or independent directors. Pwede yun kasi pwede yung piliin yung mga independent directors from the outside. Kasi wala naman itong mga usually the independent directors do not have any shares in the company. So they do not own any shares. They cannot vote themselves into the board of directors. Appointment, re-election, and removal of directors, formal and transparent procedure for appointment, succession plan, re-election at regular intervals, proper explanation and resignation, and removal of directors. So dapat yung yung re-election, may regular term, siguro mga 3 years, tapos may succession, yung sa company, there should be a succession plan, no? Who would replace the president assuming he is incapacitated or he resigns or he is kicked out, no? Dapat meron ng succession plan yan, no? Otherwise, you will have problems. Of course, you can siguro hire a headhunter agency like, for instance, John Clements, but it's better that you can promote from the inside. So there should be a specific term for non-executive directors. All directors subject to retirement by rotation at irregular intervals. Nomination committee formed to make recommendation on appointment of directors and succession planning for directors, chairman, and CEO. Responsibility of directors, keep abreast of the responsibilities as director, exercise duties of care, skill, integrity, and diligence expected, ensure proper understanding of the operation, business and regulatory requirement, contribute the sufficient time and resources to serve the corporation, attend the annual general meeting to share the views of shareholders. For non-executive directors, active participation in board meetings, bring in independent judgment, take lead if conflict of interest arise, serve on committees, monitor the corporate performance in achieving preset goals. Information accessed by directors should be provided accurate and appropriate information in order to make informed decisions and to discharge their responsibilities. Agenda and board paper should be sent in full and in a timely manner to directors. Information supplied must be complete and reliable. Directors should have access to the senior management for information. Information supplied should be form and quality to facilitate informed decision. Remuneration of directors and senior management. Transparency of directors' remuneration policy. This should be sufficient but not excessive. Each director should have involved in deciding his or her own remuneration. So there should be a remuneration committee. And they should be formed mainly from the non-executive directors, consult chairman and president if needed, access to professional advice, market comparable information, make recommendation policy and structure of remuneration, term specific remuneration packages of all executive directors and senior management. Review of performance-based remuneration, review and approve compensation arrangement in connection with loss or termination of office, dismissal, or removal of directors for misconduct. Management to provide explanation, information to the board to enable them make informed assessment of financial and other information. So usually, pag may board meeting, merong management report of what happened during the month, no? And based on this, the contentious items or the problems are discussed by the management with the directors. And the directors are supposed to make the recommendations or their decision on which avenues to take to resolve the problem. The board should present comprehensive assessment of the corporate performance, position, and prospects in annual and interim reports, price-sensitive announcements, and other financial disclosures. So usually, mga financial statements, meron dapat na monthly, ano? And based on this, the directors will make some decisions regarding some propositions by the management. So halimbawa, nagpo-propose na expansion, then this financial statements will direct the director, they will direct the attention of the directors to the capabilities of the company. Pwede, pakakayanin ba? Itong proposed acquisition of equipment, itong proposed expansion. Kaya kailangan tuwing may board meeting, may financial statements. Internal control, ensure maintenance of sound and effective internal controls to safeguard assets, conduct regular reviews of the effectiveness of internal control system, covering financial, operational compliance, and risk management and fund control functions. Prevent fraud, corruption, and malpractices. The audit committee naman should have clear terms of reference, formal and transparent arrangement to apply the financial reporting and internal control principles and maintain appropriate relationship with external auditors. Full minutes of audit committee to be kept, provided with sufficient resources to discharge its duties, independent from external auditors. So the audit committee is responsible for making recommendations for the appointment of or removal of the external auditors. Monitor the effectiveness of the audit process, ensuring auditors' independence and objectivity. Monitor the integrity of the financial disclosures, oversight of the financial reporting, and internal control procedures. Delegation by the board, formal schedule of matters specifically reserved to the board for decision. Clear directions to management as to matters requiring board approval before decision made. So clear directions to the delegation of management and functions, as well as powers of management. Review the arrangement of segregation of duties within board and management regularly. Board committee to be formed with specific terms of reference as needed. So communication with shareholders usually should be ongoing, dialogue with shareholders, and make use of annual general meetings or other general meetings to communicate with shareholders. Transparency in corporate governance practices and business performances through proper and adequate disclosure. Encourage shareholders' participation. Separate resolution for each separate issue. Chairman of independent board committee be present to answer any questions in any general meeting to approve transaction requiring independent shareholders' approval. Ngayon, inform shareholders about procedure for voting by poll. No? Ensure proper compliance to regulatory requirement by voting about voting by poll. Ngayon, madali na mag-board meeting dahil kahit na nasa abroad yung board member, pwede na via Zoom, no? And this is acceptable. Okay, any questions? So do sa fourth module, I incorporated yung yung sustainability report ng Manila Water at saka ng De La Salle University, no? Read it, and that might be helpful when you make your proposed CSR program for your chosen company or hospital or healthcare company. Ngayon, kayo ba nakakita na ng audited financial statements? Has anybody here seen an audited financial statement?
Not yet, sir.
Wala? Okay, papakitaan ko kayo ng audited financial statement of a company, of a hospital, of a healthcare company. No? So itong audited financial statements ng Capital Medical Center. Please note that Capital Medical Center was acquired by Mount Grace of Unilab in about 2017, no? And we should take a look at the financial statements of Capital Medical Center for educational purposes lang to, not to criticize or not to say anything bad about it. So ito yung auditor's report. So take a look. Yung report ng auditor, which is SGB, was directed to the stockholders and board of directors of the company. It's not directed to management. It's not directed to the president of the company. No? Ano sinasabi dito? We've audited the company financial statements of Capital Medical Center, which comprise the parent company balance sheets as of June 30, 2010 and 2009, and the parent company statements of comprehensive income, parent company statements of changes in equity, and parent company statements of cash flows for the years then ended, and a summary of significant accounting policies and explanatory notes. So, second paragraph, management responsibility for the parent company financial statement. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards. The responsibility includes designing, implementing, and maintaining internal control relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, selecting and applying appropriate accounting policies, and making accounting estimates that are reasonable to the circumstances. So what do you gauge from a paragraph from the second paragraph? What idea do you get in the second paragraph? Anybody? Volunteers? Basahin niyo ulit. So what do you gauge in the second paragraph?
Parang sir, nagugas kamay na if ever parang hindi walang fraud, parang pinaganon yung statement. Parang kung ano lang yung makaya ng
Yeah, I
company.
like your description. Hugas kamay. Tama, no? Sinasabi nila, hindi namin responsibility yan. Itong financial statements is the responsibility of management, di ba? So, kung may mali man, kung ano, it's not us. It's not we, the auditors, who are responsible. It is management. So, let's go to the third and fourth paragraph. Our responsibility to express an opinion on these financial statements based on our audits. We conducted our audits in accordance with the Philippine Standards on Auditing. These standards require that we comply with the ethical requirements and plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. An audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. The procedures selected depend on the auditor's judgment, including assessment of the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error. In making those assessments, the auditor considers internal control relevant to the entity's preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the entity's internal control. An audit also includes evaluating the appropriateness of the accounting policies used and the reasonableness of the accounting estimates made by the management, as well as evaluating the overall presentation of the financial statements. We believe that the audit evidence that we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide the basis for an audit opinion. Okay. Ngayon, itong pinaka-importanting parte ng audited financial statements, no. Yung opinion ng auditor, external auditor. In our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of Capital Medical Center as of June 30, 2010 and 2009, and its financial performance and its cash flows for the years then ended in accordance with the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards. Ano sabi ko mga tipo ng opinion? Ano mga klase ng opinion? Does anybody remember that? Ano mga klase ng opinion ng auditor?
Parang merong clean, adverse, no opinion. So, ano pa yung isa?
Okay. Clean. Itong opinion ito is a clean, no? Wala siya merong clean, merong qualified, merong adverse, at yung worst is a no opinion, no? So ito yung example na clean opinion of the auditor, no? Wala siya sinabing masama, no? Kaya lang sinabi niya, ang responsible dito sa financial statements ito, yung management ng Capital Medical Center. Kaya kung may mali dyan, ang may kasalanan yung management. No? Ngayon, kung titignan niyo yung partner, meron siya, registered siya sa SEC. Of course, meron siya registered siya sa civil service, no? Meron siyang PTR number. Meron siyang registered pa rin siya sa BIR. At of course, partner siya sa SGB. Dati, kung magpapa-audit ka, kung ikaw yung auditor, dapat registered ka sa SEC. At saka, of course, dapat pasado ka sa board. Meron kang lisensya from PRC. So, ang nangyari dito, nadagdagan, no? Dapat SEC registered ka, BIR registered ka pa rin, no? So, yun ang nangyari dahil sa mga kalokohan nangyari sa Enron, sa WorldCom, sa CAP ng Philippines, sa BW Resources ng Philippines. No? So, napahirap ng yung mga proseso. Any questions? Okay, look, we go to the balance sheet proper, to the financial statements proper. We will not take this up because it's just a certification and the company is in a position to declare dividends. No? So, ito, supplementary schedule dito regarding the retained earnings. No? Again, we will not be taking this up, not yet, dahil ito, as lang yan, parang certification that they can declare dividends. So, this is the so-called balance sheet. Why is it called balance sheet? Anybody? Bakit tinawag na balance sheet ito? Anybody? Kasi kung titignan niyo, yes, someone is going to answer. Yes, please. I'm sorry.
It shows po the assets and liabilities of the company po.
Okay, kung titignan niyo, yung total assets na 997 million is equal to the stockholders and the liabilities, to the total liabilities and stockholders equity of 997 million. So equal ito, no? Ibig sabihin, lahat ng mga assets nanggaling sa investment ng mga stockholders. Ito yung investment nila, no? Initial investment. Nadagdagan na dahil kumita na sila. So lahat ito ginamit pambili ng mga assets. Ang assets, merong current at merong non-current. Ano yung current assets? How would you define a current asset? Itong current assets are assets that are easily disposable, usually at most 1 year's time. Ano yun? Ano ito? Cash. Itong cash, pwedeng mga nasa time deposit, pwedeng nasa money market, no? Receivables. Ito yung mga receivables from PhilHealth, no? Or meron mga promissory notes, no? Receivables yan. Tapos may medicines and supplies, inventory. And other current assets, yung mga maliliit na bagay, no? Ngayon, non-current assets naman, ito yung mga hindi mo kagad ma-dispose. Examples na investments. Halimbawa, may investment ka sa subsidiary company. Subsidiary company is parang sister company, no? A property and equipment. Halimbawa, meron kang CT scan, meron kang x-ray machine, meron kang ultrasound, mga equipment yun, no? Tapos, meron tinatawag dito at cost and appraised value. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Yung at cost, halimbawa, binili mo yung lupa na, ng 1 million. Pagkatapos, after 10 years, pina-appraise mo, ang appraised value is more, naging 2 million. Yun, kaya yun ang appraised value nung lupa, no? So kaya merong at cost, ito yung at acquisition date, at meron namang appraise at appraisal date, no? Tapos yung net retirement asset. Ito yung mga retirement benefits ng mga employees, no? So maganda, meron siyang retirement plan, no? Tapos deposits and other non-current assets. So total assets niya is 907. Ngayon, yung liabilities naman, yung mga accounts payable, yung other current liabilities. Yung accounts payable, ito siguro yung mga pinadalang mga medicines or yung mga medical supplies sa pinuntahan ng Zwilig, no? So, usually meron ka 30 days, no? 30 days, pag magandang credit line mo sa, sa Zwilig, magandang yung image, bibigyan ka ng credit line ng mga 30 days. No? So, accounts payable, yun, no? Meron namang short-term loans payable. Yung siguro, kailangan ka ng temporary ng pera, pansweldo, nanghiram ka sa bangko. So, yun, short-term loans payable. Tapos may income tax payable ka na dapat bayaran. No? Tapos meron siyang current portion of long-term debt. Kasi yung long-term debt, halimbawa 5 years yan, yung 1 year payable na in the first year or second year. No? Kaya yung current portion ng long-term, kaya yun ang current portion ng long-term debt, yung payable within 1 year. Tapos meron siyang income tax, deferred income tax liabilities dahil hindi pa niya binabayaran. Tapos yung sa mga non-current liabilities naman yun. Tapos another item sa long-term liabilities yung long-term debt. No? Usually sa DBP to or sa isang usually development bank tong mga loan na ganito yan. So total non-current liabilities of 59 million. Ngayon yung capital stock, ito yung investment ng mga stockholders. No? Ngayon yung additional paid-in capital, ito yung additional na nilagay na pera ng mga stockholders. Kasi sa stockholders, sa capitalization, meron tayong tinatawag na meron tayong tinatawag na subscribed capitalization, and paid up capitalization. Ang paid up capitalization, ito yung talagang nilabas na pera ng mga ng mga stockholders. Ngayon yung subscribed capitalization, ito yung promise na kukunin ng stockholders na i-invest nila sa company. So there comes a time na yung kailangan ng company yung ng pera, magkakaroon na tinatawag na subscription call. Ibig sabihin yung mga pinangakong investment ng mga investors, tinatawag mo na para magbayad na sila. Ito yung kaya nagkakaroon ng additional paid-in capital. Tapos revaluation increment of land, ito yung increase ng ng value ng land, no? Tapos merong retained earnings na tinatawag. Ano yung retained earnings? What do you understand by retained earnings? Anybody? Anybody knows what the retained earning is? Ito yung mga earnings in previous years that were not distributed as dividends, or these were not useful to expand the business, to expand. This was not used to buy equipment. This was not used to declare dividends. This was not used to buy additional assets. No? So, meron naman tinatawag, kaya meron nung nakalagay yung appropriated and unappropriated. Yung appropriated, ibig sabihin, naka-earmark na ito for a certain project. Yung unappropriated, this is the amount that is available for declaration of dividends. No? Kaya unappropriated ang tawag. Yung treasury shares naman are shares bought back by the company from the investors. So meron mga investors siguro na hindi na sila bilib sa company and they would like to sell out. So meron mga instances na merong investment agreement na if you intend to sell out, you have to give the company the first option to purchase your shares. Kaya nagiging treasury shares yun. So total equity niya is 566 million. Any questions so far? Hello? Any questions?
Ano po?
Okay. So ito naman ang income statement, no? Ito yung revenue. Sometimes yung revenue sa tawag dyan sales. Pag British naman, ang tawag dyan turnover, no? And yung cost services are those services, are those costs that are directly associated to the revenue. So yung kaya nagkaroon ng revenue is because of the cost of sales. Yung tapos, if you deduct from the revenue cost of sales, you get the gross profit. Gross profit pa lang yan, ha? So from the gross profit, you deduct the general admin expenses. Ano yung general admin expenses? Ito yung cost of electricity, ito yung cost of maintenance, ito yung salaries of the staff, Ito yung mga payment for the utilities. Yung financing charges naman, ito yung mga interest charges sa mga loans, no? Tapos interest income, ito yung mga yung mga income na derive ng company from placements in time deposit, savings deposit, at saka yung mga income from the money market. Tapos yung merong other income, ito yung mga maliliit na bagay na kinita ng company. Kuminsan, ito yung mga income sa pharmaceuticals, no? At sa formulary. So, lalabas doon yung income before income taxes, which is 63 million. So, you have a provision for income tax of 26 and current 7 and then deferred. No, current na 26, deferred na 7, and then final na 92. So after deducting this, you get a net income of 44.6 million for year 2010. Ngayon, kuminsan meron kang investment in a subsidiary company. In this case, meron siyang investment nga, pero nangyari, hindi, nagkaroon siya ng change in the revaluation increment sa land, no? So nangyari siguro dito, na mali ng appraisal yung appraisal company, and then na overstate yung appraisal value. So they decided to fix it here, no? Sa income statement. So you have a total comprehensive income of 42 million. Tapos you divide the comprehensive income by total number of shares outstanding, issued and outstanding, and you get an earnings per share of 128 pesos per share in 2010 and 141 pesos in 2009. Any questions? Ngayon, sabi ko nga kanina, this company was acquired by Mount Grace in 2017, no? Now, what were the telltale signs that this company will be acquired by Mount Grace? Kumikita naman, di ba? Kumita ka ng 63, kumita ka ng 74. Bakit binenta nila sa Mount Grace? Anybody would like to venture a guess?
The price per share, Doc, sa 2009 and 2010 is different, and the net income is also has changed sa 2010.
Yeah, but what would be the other reasons? At least kumikita pa rin, no? Although bumagsak ng medyo malaki, pero kumikita pa rin siya. Bakit nila naibenta ito sa Mount Grace? Okay, would you be interested to know that there's a way to find out whether this company is going to go bankrupt 1 year in advance?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Actually, naka-upload na to sa Canvas, no? You can take a look at this sa Canvas. Pati itong formula, no? In 1967, there was a professor at New York University. His name was Edward Altman, and he came up with a formula whereby that enabled him to predict whether a company is going to go bankrupt 12 months in advance, no? Ito yung tinatawag na Altman Z-score model. Nasaan ninyo? In-upload ko to sa Canvas. I think it is in module 4, no? So ito yung kanyang formula. And it says here that if the Z-score, ito yung formula, no? Z is equal to 0.717x1, 0.847x2 plus yung mga coefficients nasa kulay, well, lahat pala nasa kulay blue, no? Pero yung yung x1, x2, x3, ito yung formula, no? So ang sabi niya dito, if the Z-score is greater than 2.9, the company is in the safe zone. Meaning to say, it's not going to go bankrupt in a year's time. Now, if the company is if the Z-score is between 1.23 and 2.90, it means the company is in a gray zone, which means it may or may not go bankrupt in a year's time. Now, if the CIBIL score is less than 1.23, the company is in the distress zone. Meaning to say, it's already almost bankrupt or on the verge of going bankrupt. Now, what I want you to do is, in your free time per group, you work on this you work on the financial statements of Capital Medical Center, and you try putting in the figures in this formula and see if you're going to come up with and see if you will find the company in the safe zone, gray zone, or distress zone. Okay, of course, we know for a fact that this was already taken over by Mount Grace in 2017. No? That is the very reason why I used the 2010 and 2009 figures of Capital Medical Center. Okay, so that will be your part of your assignment for next meeting. But your main assignment, of course, is your presentation of your proposed CSR program for your healthcare company. Any questions? Hello, any questions?
So, bali ito po, Doc, ipipresent din po namin next Sunday po? Or yung
We will
SR lang?
discuss it. There will be no presentation. We will just discuss it. No? Ano na, parang nagkukwentuhan lang tayo. Just like this. Discussion. We will just discuss it. Bakit nagkaganyan?
Okay po.
Pero kailangan, i-calculate nyo para at least mas fruitful yung ating magiging discussion. Okay? Is that okay with you? So alam niyo yung main responsibility nyo will be your presentation, PowerPoint presentation of your proposed CSR program. And to help you with that, in-upload ko nga yung sustainability report ng sa university at saka ng Manila Water. No? Of course, hindi ko naman sinasabing kasing grand yung dalawang sustainability report yung gagawin ninyo. But at least you will get an idea of how to do it. Okay? Pagkatapos ito, we will just discuss it based on your calculations. So let me just go. If there are no questions, let me just call the roll. No?
Sir, can we ask a favor, sir, from
Yeah.
our group? Yeah, regarding the for the first assignment of can we have it resubmitted if it's okay for group 2?
Resubmit. What do you mean?
There were some the refinement of the sir, the one that we just submitted.
Ano assignment no? Ito yung unethical practices.
Yes, sir. Opo.
Oh, sige, I will give you that opportunity. I will fix it up within the week. Siguro by Wednesday, you can upload it. No?
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
Handouts po, Doc.
Yeah, I will. Some of these are already uploaded in Canvas, no? I will just take a look. Na-upload ko na.
Thank you po, Doc.